The Boeing 777 from PMDG is on its final approach, guys. Stick around to find out more. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkill's tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining us on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future releases that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below. All right, so you guys heard me. The PMDG Boeing 777-300ER is on its final approach. We're going to check out this incredibly awesome first release trailer, if you will, of the PMDG 777, and then we'll talk about some of the features and expectations that we should have on release day. This thing looks absolutely beautiful. Gosh, look at those textures. And you can see the EFBs function. Damn, that is a big freaking plane. Holy crap. The 777 is one of those ones you do not realize how big it is until it is in front of you. Like, it is a massive aircraft. I remember when they first released the 777. Gosh, I don't even remember how old I was then. But I remember I was hanging out in my backyard. I was a kid. And I remember it was doing a tour across the United States, right? And it flew out of Tucson, and it was just circling at low altitude so everybody could see it. And holy crap, that thing was huge. It was just this big, monstrous thing flying overhead. And my parents' house is even closer to the airport than my house is. We were probably maybe drive time, maybe 5 minutes from the airport. Our house was actually in line with the perpendicular runway over there. So it was just a really awesome experience. Oh, that was weird. My recording tripped out. Anyways, gosh, they have done a really good job with this. Although it's PMDG, so I really wasn't expecting anything less. I cannot wait to fly this thing. I cannot wait. This is going to be the fun part. This is going to be me right here. I'm going to be doing wing views like crazy. There's just something about seeing that gigantic wing. And the engine, gosh, if you guys have never seen the 777 engine in person, holy mercy, it is a massive engine. The thing is huge. Oh, I can't wait. This is going to be so much fun. All right, let's talk about the cool stuff. All right, so first things first, let's talk about the big one. Everybody's wanting to know, what does final approach mean? Well, I'm not going to tease you too much. It's a pretty big window. The window that we're talking about is anywhere between 2 weeks from now all the way up to 2 months. In an interview with Robert Randazzo, the lead developer for PMDG, he has stated that there are 3 items. He would not specify what those items were, but there are 3 critical items that are currently being resolved, addressed, whatever you want to call it, before the aircraft can be released. But he has stated between 2 weeks from now and 2 months from now. So it really depends on how quickly issues get resolved and once those tests are confirmed to be completed. Okay, so I'm super excited by that. 2 weeks to 2 months, that ain't bad. And I will give this. Going back to when we first talked about the 737, right? Before the 737 released, we caught a lot of the same kind of information, right? Oh, well, it's on its way. Oh, well, we're hoping before here. Oh, we're hoping before there, right? There was a lot of back and forth, nothing really concrete. And then he said something similar with the 737. I don't remember what the time frame was, but let's say, for example, for keepsake, he had said 2 weeks to 2 months. And I remember whatever that date range was, it was like 3 weeks from that point that we had the aircraft. So I'm hoping that this comes out to be a similar situation where, you know, as early as possibly a month from now, we could have this aircraft in our hangars, because I can't wait for this one. This one's going to be a really fun one. I love it in, I think it was, P3D where I used it last. It's just a badass aircraft, and it's freaking huge. So that's really epic as far as that part. Now, obviously, you guys saw the universal EFB is already integrated into the aircraft. GSX, for those of you who are wondering, the profile is currently being developed for it, and the integration for it is already being developed. So hopefully that will be around shortly after release. It doesn't sound like it's going to be ready for release. However, payload manager, all that kind of good stuff, fuel, payload, passenger, whatever you want to call it, that's all going to be controlled through the universal tablet, and it sounds like will be available on release day. So that's definitely a good thing. Next, obviously, the cockpit door, the actual cockpit door itself. For those of you who don't know, the 777 has its own cockpit door. So you don't have to go in through, say, the front passenger entrance. Like if you guys look at this picture here, you can see there's a passenger stairwell, and then here's the stairwell up directly into the cockpit. That cockpit will open. Obviously, we have our catering doors and all that. So they've done a great job modeling all of that good stuff, which I'm really excited for. Some people don't really care about crap like that. I do. I think it just makes it more fun when you're loading things like that, especially when you're creating like a cinematic experience for yourself or something like that. I think it adds a lot. And if you haven't tried things like that, I highly recommend that you guys do, because it really does bring far more immersion into the sim, I promise. Getting into the cockpit, we have a little bit better idea of what the flight deck looks like from the screenshots versus from the video. Bit more time to really stare them. You can definitely see the wear and tear and the aging of the aircraft that PMDG is very known for putting into their image. So as far as the cockpit modeling goes, I mean, I have no reason to believe that it's not already epic, but this looks, you're really getting an impression on how big this aircraft is just from looking from this shot of the flight deck. I mean, this looks like something out of like Star Citizen. This thing looks huge. So they've really done a great job of capturing, in my opinion, the size of the aircraft, even starting all the way forward with the flight deck. I mean, it is a very, very large plane. This thing is massive. I can't get over it. Again, triple road cabin. So that's going to be really awesome. Now let's talk about the cabin for a second, because I'm sure this is going to come up. Passenger announcements will not be available on the launch date directly from the aircraft. If you have some third-party program does it, obviously that doesn't necessarily count. The other thing that people have mentioned before, even with the 737, there's first class right there for you, but is the HUD. The HUD apparently, and even I didn't know this, the HUD is a very rare feature even in the 777 today. It's a very specifically ordered item, and it sounds like that the team over at PMDG doesn't have enough real world data to replicate the HUD very well. So at the time of launch, the HUD will not be available. But it is something that is being worked on as well. So fret not, it is coming. And one thing I will say is, remember that when the 777, again, going back to the launch of the 737, the 700 series, patches and updates happened fairly quickly. I mean, it was a fairly consistent update cycle, and each one that took place, we got some pretty significant improvements. So I have no doubt with PMDG and their track record that we'll see the improvements at a reasonable time that makes us all happy. Personally, I just can't wait to start the damn thing. I'm going to keep saying it. I don't care. So moving back on over to talking about some of the different variants. So we have confirmation that there will be the 777-200ER, the 777-200LR, and the 777F for the freighter that will be coming after the first release, which will be the 777 extended range, okay, or the ER. So that's pretty awesome. I'm excited about the different variants. I'm personally okay with just the 300ER. Let's talk about pricing. It sounds like the pricing will be very similar to what we saw with the 737, although no hard numbers were given. But for example, the less capable of the aircraft, I believe that would be the 200ER, if I'm not mistaken, the smaller, and I could be mistaken, don't quote me, will be slightly cheaper, much like the 737-600 versus the 7 or the 800. So do keep that in mind, but it sounds like the pricing will be comparable to that of the 737, 800, and 700 series of aircraft. So that's really not bad. I think that was what, $60 if memory serves. Again, give or take $10 because I'm not 100% positive. It's been a while since I bought that one. But again, definitely within reason for what PMDG's feature list always brings to the sim. Speaking of, let's talk about real quick the 737 MAX. The 737 MAX will come between the 777 initial launch and the 777 like 200, 700. So between the variants of the 777. So shortly after, it sounds like the 777-300ER is released, we will see the 737 MAX, if you guys are interested in that particular aircraft. So once again, congratulations to PMDG for hitting this milestone. I'm sure it's a very exciting time for you guys in the development team. Guys, if you like with me, This is secondary to only the 767, 757 series of aircraft, so I am super, super excited to see the 777 coming down the line here. It's about freaking time. I've been waiting for it for a while. So once again, congrats to PMDG. Hope you guys are excited as I am. As always, stay safe and healthy. I'll see you in the next one.